Good evening. Mental Health Awareness Week is just around the corner. So what does it mean for Canterbury? Lynched starts right now. Thanks for your company. Mental Health Awareness Week is just around the corner, so what does it mean for the city? Well, this year the World Federation of Mental Health has chosen Dignity in Mental Health as the theme for World Mental Health Day on the 10th of October. Dignity is a word that has a number of meanings, none of them precise, but we all recognise dignity when we see it. To discuss this is mental health promoter Kieran Fox. Kieran has a background in mental youth health, community development and the arts, and has previously worked for Students Against Drink Driving and at the 198 Youth Health Centre and the Community Arts Project. And Kieran is with me now. Good evening.
Good evening, kia ora.
Dignity. It's such a simple word, but it means so much to those who are suffering mental health issues, doesn't it?
It really does. And in fact, it's hard to have dignity too when you don't have good mental health. So, part of the purpose of Mental Health Awareness Week is to raise awareness around the importance of looking after that mental health. In
terms of dignity, what is actually dignity in when we talk about mental health concerns? Because it's such a wide-ranging word, isn't it, really?
Well, I think dignity means being able to talk about it. I think being able to hold your head high. I think it means knowing how to seek help when you need it, but also how to live well.
We don't tend to put our hands up much, particularly males in this country, and a lot of teenagers are suffering as well. A lot of male teenagers are going through the mental health system at the moment in Christchurch. In fact, a report we had out at ZB last week suggests mental health services in this city are at capacity. Is that a true reflection of what you're seeing and what you're trying to do?
Yeah, and I think it's not surprising in some ways given what Canterbury and the region has been through. And the international experience after disasters suggests that we will see a slow sort of increase over time as people slowly deal with things in their own way, in their own time, and perhaps need help at different stages as well.
Isn't it interesting? Because obviously there's a myth or perception out there that as the earthquakes subside and we're coming up to the 5th year, we're getting back to a sense of normality. But I guess, is it because now that our insurance issues are out the way, now that we've got time to get back to a sense of normal, anything that triggers anything can make us feel pretty upset, do you think?
Well, I think stamina. We all have different rates of stamina, and I think right from the get-go in the recovery, people have used the metaphor of a marathon, running a marathon. And what you sort of see with a marathon is everyone starts out together, but the field tends to stretch out over the course of the race. So you have some people that get there sooner than others, and I think that's the same with recovery. It's a complex process, and people move through it at different rates.
And as like anything with a marathon, you start to get slower towards the end or speed up. I don't know what's better or worse.
Well, that's right, and I think it really depends on people's individual circumstances and pre-existing issues and other things that are going on, and I don't think any of us were prepared for the long slog that it's been in many ways and continues to be for many people.
It's interesting, isn't it, that we look after our physical health. We all know that we have to brush our teeth twice a day, but we often forget to look after our mental well-being too, our mental hygiene. What do you reckon?
Right. Yeah, I think that's true. I think a little bit like our cars, we expect to put the key in, start it up, and it's going to go every time. And while we get that we need to look after our physical well-being, I think actually people are not sure how to look after their mental well-being, that it's even a thing. So
yeah, it's true. I mean, without saying like a counselling session here, how do we look after our mental hygiene? Because as I say, and as you say, you go and fix your car and get a warrant of fitness. What should we be doing to keep our own mental health in check? And I know it's very easy to say, go for a run, do some exercise that releases endorphins, but it's a bit more than that, isn't it?
It is a little bit more than that, although that's obviously is a great
nothing
thing.
wrong with running.
Yeah, nothing wrong with running. Great, that's great for our bodies, also good for our mind. Well, at the foundation, we have a suite of messages that we use called the 5 Ways to Wellbeing, which is just a really simple little checklist for us to remember how to put something back in the tank. So they are being active is one of them, but connecting with others is another. Giving, obviously, keep learning and taking notice. And so all of these things combine to be quite a useful little set of tools.
As I was saying, a lot of us don't know to reach out for help or call a friend and say, I'm feeling a bit low, but that's the first step, isn't it? If you're feeling down, if you're feeling low, then the minute you can actually give an indication that you feel like you need some help, whether it's just in the form of a friend, it's not a bad thing to do.
Absolutely. I mean, I saw on the back of a truck driving around Christchurch the little message that sometimes listening is all the medicine someone needs, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yes, absolutely, reaching out, talking to some people about it, getting a bit of perspective on what's going on, and you know, if it needs more than that, it's also about taking that next step if necessary. But for many people, yeah, that's all. It's just reaching out.
Okay, we've got to take a break. When we return, I want to talk about the word dignity a bit more in depth, because dignity and mental health, it goes without saying really, but that is the focus of the mental health awareness campaign in a couple of weeks' time with the Awareness Day. So we'll discuss that next on the program. Welcome back to Lynched on CTV. My guest tonight is Kieran Fox, a mental health promoter. So the focus internationally is dignity, but the local focus, the national focus, is give.
That's right. Yeah.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, we chose to focus on one of the 5 ways to wellbeing that I talked about before, and the idea being that, you know, little bite-sized simple things that people can take away and do every day to look after their own wellbeing. So give is one of those 5, and it's actually a very, very powerful booster for our moods. And as we know, it's really important to be able to know how to boost our mood, because it's pretty hard to do the other stuff when you're feeling pretty low. So giving to others, or I like to think of it as practicing kindness, because it's not necessarily about money, but giving to others, whether it's our words, our time, our presence, can be an enormous boost to our own well-being.
It's an interesting point you make. You're so right about that. If you give to other people, if you are feeling down, you can actually lift yourself up without even realising it.
Absolutely.
It's gratitude and the other one, whatever the other one is.
Yeah,
right?
well, I mean, it may seem counterintuitive, you know, when you've had a bad day and sometimes all you really want to do is maybe pamper yourself, but actually an absolute guaranteed fix will be to find somebody else to do something nice for. I mean, I think in Christchurch at the moment, the nicest thing you can do for anybody is let them into traffic. You know, it's kind of, isn't it? It's
well,
kind
I don't get a choice having driving a siren car. I have to be polite.
Yes, right. But it's actually an amazing thing, and you can see the little uplift that causes amongst the traffic. You see other people start to let others in, and it actually spreads. But
it does actually.
It does.
It's such when you feel good, even apart from when they don't acknowledge you.
No, you really want that acknowledgement, do you?
But you're right though. And even if you just look at somebody and smile, and they smile back to you, it's the smallest things, but it all helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And that's why it's important to know those little things like that you can just do every day. You know, and that costs nothing. You know, a smile, you know, letting someone into traffic, whatever it is. But it actually can be a little boost for you. It can just be the difference, you know, to lift your day.
Okay, so you are a mental health promoter in the Canterbury region, so I bet you better give yourself, I'm not sure if plug's the right word, but if you've got anything that we need to know about coming up on starting from the 10th of October in terms of any awareness campaigns or things you reckon that could benefit us all in the city? Yeah,
well, there's lots of great events that we like to get behind, you know, and they may not seem like obviously to do with mental health, but they're things like the Walking Festival and the Body Festival of Dance and Physical Theatre. Now, both those things represent opportunities to get out, be active, connect, to learn new things, you know, to pick up new skills and meet new people. So those things are just important to keep sight of, I think, particularly in the region. You know, it's been such a tough time. Sometimes it feels like there's not a lot to look forward to. So getting out there and you know, getting mixed up in those events is a wonderful way to look after your own wellbeing.
That's a really good point. The Christchurch Arts Festival that was recently here, and with record attending numbers before even the earthquakes. Do you put that down to the fact that people feel a bit more appreciative of the things we do have in the city now following the earthquake, so they make an effort to go to them, and I think that's wonderful.
I think so, and I think they're hungry for it. You know, I think they really are. That they realise that ability to go out and connect and just sort of, you know, the scientists talk about random trust-building encounters, you know, which is actually just how a city kind of gets to know itself and how we get to know each other. So those kinds of big public events, we can go and feel part of the bigger city.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Really important, yeah.
I would honestly encourage anybody who's considered going to an arts event before or a performance in the city. There is so much now. In fact, it feels like, I don't know whether I'm more appreciative myself, it feels like there's a lot more happening in Christchurch than before the earthquakes. I don't know, maybe I just appreciate them more.
I don't know. I mean, I think you could be right. I think there's been a real boost in energy around creativity in the city and a real desire to make things better and make things interesting. and that actually nourishes us in a different way. You know, as much as we need all our infrastructure rebuilt, we actually need to keep that other kind of infrastructure going too, which is all those things that we love about the city, you know, the festivals and the events that, you know, we go to, whether it's sporting events and other cultural activities. So earlier in the year, having things like Te Matatini come and be here in Canterbury, it was enormous, and there was so much pride in that. You could just see in hosting an event like that. So yeah, I strongly recommend getting out for the Walking Festival and the Body Festival. We have events running in both of those festivals. So the All Right Amble is one of them, which is a way of experiencing the 5 ways to wellbeing while you're out having a stroll in the Botanic Gardens. So yeah, another little gem, of course, at Christchurch is the gardens.
I do love that new that sign, the neon sign, the art sign that's now on the back of the art gallery, saying it's okay Christchurch or something.
I think it says everything's going to be all right. I think it's rather tongue in cheek, and I quite like the fact that it's facing over the road towards Sarah.
And towards the council. Everything will be all right. Just don't put up the rates.
Yes,
Kieran Fox, nice to meet you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And keep up the good work. All the very best.